It was like a crash course in Catholicism in Rome. It was like Catholic Disneyland for me. So I went back to LA and I traded my Hollywood girl lifestyle for adoration and mass and rosary groups, infusing my faith and the dignity of the human person in the business without having to say it outright. I'm all about dignity, whether that it's the people wearing my swimsuits or the people making them. That's a big part of my business. It was kind of slow going my whole life. And then I hit this point where it was like, oh, okay, we're going full speed. And I haven't really stopped since.
Can a Power Ranger go viral from Modesty? Jessica Rey did. From Hollywood sets to swimsuit designs, she challenged the culture, launched the Faith Fuel brand, and proved you don't need to sell out to stand out. This episode is packed with wild stories about awkward auditions and a whole lot of real talk about identity, dignity, and bold conviction. Before we get into that conversation, if you're new to this channel, this show exists to provide clarity for 1 million mission-driven entrepreneurs and brands so that together we can create an impact for eternity. But in order to do this, we need to grow our community. So please hit that bell and subscribe to this channel so you get notifications whenever new episodes are released. Now let's get into this video and conversation with Jessica Rey. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the show. I am so excited about the conversation here because there's a lot to unpack in her story. There's a lot to share. There's a lot to be inspired by. So I just want to welcome to the show, Jessica Rey. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Fantastic. I am just really pumped because this has been a process to get us here, and there's a lot of rumblings in the background. People are excited to hear this conversation and learn more about you, me specifically. So first question I like to kick off with is jumping right into the deep end and asking you, when did your walk with Christ begin? When did that start?
Well, let's see. I grew up Catholic. I'm Filipino, and most Filipinos are Catholic, except for my father, actually, which is a totally different story. My father grew up Methodist. My mom was a very strong practicing Catholic. So she raised us Catholic. And, I received First Communion. I was confirmed and I feel like looking back, I didn't have very good formation from those programs. And I moved to LA. I was from Orange County to get my MBA, and then sort of fell into the Hollywood life. I became an actress. I got a job. My first TV job was on the Power Rangers. You can see my helmet right there. I don't know if you can see it on the screen.
The Pink Ranger, was that what you were?
I was white. It was white. My clothes were all pink. There was a lot of confusion.
Yes.
I was technically the White Ranger, and just started partying and living that Hollywood girl lifestyle. I would say the pivotal moment was I was in an acting class, and one of my fellow students, we were practicing a scene, and he was like, "What are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Well, where's the party?" I was like, I'll bring all my roommates. I'll bring my girlfriends. Just tell me where to go. And he's like, "No, I'm going to this thing called prayer and pasta." And I was like, ew, like, what is that? And he's like, "Well, it's first we pray the rosary and then we eat pasta." And I was like, well, if I'm not doing anything, I'll come. I grew up praying the rosary with my mom, with my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, and who doesn't like pasta? So I told him I would meet him there at 7:30 at a place called Family Theater in Hollywood. So I got there at 7, and I sat in the parking lot in my car because I didn't want to go in alone. And I waited, and I watched all these people go in, person after person walking in, and this guy, Jose, he's just not showing up. So then it was like 7:20, 7:25, 7:26. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be late now. I don't want to walk in late while they're praying the rosary. That would be even more embarrassing. Maybe he went in through another door. So I went in. he wasn't there. They started the rosary. I ended up praying the rosary with a bunch of strangers, which for me was very uncomfortable. Again, I had only prayed the rosary with my family up until that point. And then as the rosary ended, I just kept thinking, like, how am I going to escape? Like, how can I get out of here? Because I'm like now mad that this guy didn't show up. And I don't want to socialize with a bunch of strangers. Like, I am actually an introvert. And so I was like having social anxiety, and I'm like, I got to get out. So I'm like inching my way to the door. And I heard this guy speaking very loudly about how he had lived in Rome as a seminarian, and he was flown to LA for back surgery. Now, I had just met with a back surgeon the week before because I have scoliosis. I've had it my whole life, apparently. And I wanted to know who his back surgeon was, because maybe his back surgeon was better than mine. So I went up to him. I said, hey, I overheard your conversation. I'm actually looking for a back surgeon. I have to leave. Here's my card. I'm not trying to hit on you. Please call me, and, maybe we can discuss your doctor. And I left. I met up with this guy maybe 2 weeks later at a coffee shop with my roommate. We talked about his back surgery. And he said to me, I actually have to go back to Rome to pack up my seminary room, but I can't travel alone because of my bad back. And I said, well, I'll go. And he looked at my roommate. He's like, is she crazy? Is she serious? She was like, yeah, she's probably serious. She's a little bit crazy as well. And so a couple of weeks later, I was on an airplane to Rome. Had never been anywhere out of the country except Canada and Mexico and the Philippines with my family. And I fell in love, not with that guy, but with Rome. Like, we hung out with priests, seminarians. We learned about art. We had like this private, super early tour of the Sistine Chapel. We were in there all by ourselves with like 3 other people. I learned, it was like a crash course in Catholicism in Rome. And it was like Catholic Disneyland for me. I don't know how else to explain it, but I was in love. I was like, wow, our faith is so beautiful and it's real and you can see it here. And so I went back to LA and I traded my Hollywood girl lifestyle, like all the parties, I traded them for adoration and mass and rosary groups. And the pastor at the parish I started going to, he saw me as this eager beaver. And so he got me involved with the homeless ministry. And I started bringing communion to the hospital, and I started a women's group, and I started a young adults group, and I started like a tea club in the rectory. And it was like that for me. It was right after my trip to Rome.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn, and I was going to philosophy groups and just reading a ton, and like had a totally new group of friends. There were all these Catholics in Hollywood. I didn't know they existed. I actually never ended up seeing that guy, Jose, ever again.
What?
I never saw him again in acting class. And like I said, he didn't come to family theater, to the rosary group. So I don't know. I've tried to look him up. I don't remember what his last name was, but
Little angel.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain that, but
that is wild.
Yeah, it was, so it was, it was kind of slow going my whole life. And then I hit this point where it was like, oh, okay, we're going full speed.
Yeah.
And I haven't really stopped since.
So how was that received while you were still in the Hollywood life, right? You were still on the show at the time, and you were sort of getting stronger in your faith. And I know it's like anti.
So I had actually finished Power Rangers at that point.
Okay.
And I was still auditioning and working on other TV shows. There was actually one. So in my journey, I started learning more about modesty in dress. And so I ended up starting a line of modest swimsuits That's my main business. And because I couldn't find one, I simply could not find a modest swimsuit that wasn't for an old lady or a little girl. This was like 17 years ago. So that's really all that existed in like one piece swimsuits back then. So I created my own. My mom was very happy. I used my MBA, started my own company. But there was one job in particular I remember where I got the script and the first line, you know, it says where it is, and it was in Cancun. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to wear a bikini. I was really like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? So I went to the wardrobe session at the studio and I brought all of my swimsuits, all of my Jessica Rey swimsuits. And I showed them to the lady because they do ask you to bring your own stuff. But she's like, okay, well, that's nice. But why don't you try the bikinis on that are in the dressing room first? And then we'll look at what you have. And I said, I can't wear a bikini. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, I just mean that I don't want to wear one. I will not wear one. So I have all these other swimsuits. I said, I don't think it's vital to the character that she is wearing a bikini. So can we show these options to the director? And she agreed. And he ended up picking one of mine. I actually ended up wearing one of my own swimsuits on this TV show.
Wow.
So that, you know, there were moments like that. And then there have been moments where it's like, well, I get the audition and I'm just like, I don't want to audition for this. And you run the risk of your agent dropping you because, you know, their job is to find you work and they get commission on that work. And if you're just going to keep turning down the jobs, they're not making money on you and they're just going to go to the next person.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by the friction that you may have been experiencing so your walk with Christ and in your faith has been strong for a long time. So it's been prevalent while you were still growing your career within Hollywood. How did you maintain that strength, and how did you fight off the forces that are like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? What are you talking about? Like, how did you do that?
I think number one, frequenting the sacraments is most important. And number two, really having a community of people behind you and with you to walk with you, because there were other actors, other, you know, people in the industry that were in my circle of friends, and we would just talk to each other and say, yeah, that really stinks. Like I had to turn this down, or, you know, what should I do about this? And asking for their advice and really having people to lean on. Having a community and that fellowship is really just so important.
So at the time, going back to that part of your life, were you single at the time and looking to become like, raise a family and like making sure you stay in these communities so that you find the right person in your life?
So I was single. I have dated a ton of the wrong person.
Yeah.
And I started, my friends would be like, oh, you should date this guy or you should date this guy, kind of guys within the community or friends of friends. And I really did want to be married. I've always wanted to be a mom. And so I met my husband on an app that my cousin put me on. I actually never really went on it. I mean, she emailed me and was like, go look at your email. And I went and looked, and it was like 3 profiles. I was like, what is this? Now, I've been married for 18 years. So this was a long time ago before, these dating apps really became kind of normal, I guess.
Right. It was kind of like taboo to
so I was like, what is this? I was really angry with her at first. And
wait, she set up your profile?
But it was so whack. She used a fake name. Okay. And then she used this really weird picture of me. Again, this was back then before everyone had cell phones and had all these pictures of themselves. Yeah. Right? So she used this really weird, like old picture of me that didn't look like me at all. And she wasn't talking to anyone. She was just using my profile to like look at people. And she found a few guys and I was really angry. But then one of the profiles, I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cute. And he said he's looking for a girl. Like his profile was really funny. It said that he's looking for a girl with superpowers.
Oh, what?
Like, that's me. Like, who else on this website has superpowers but me?
That's wild.
I logged on. I sent him like a little happy face or something. And we started talking. And we had so much in common. Both of our dads were in the Army. Both of our moms were nurses. Both of our families had lived in Germany. We actually discovered that we had both lived in Clarksville, Tennessee at the same time. So last year we took our kids to see how close our houses were and for ourselves to see. And it was about 1.5 miles apart.
No way.
Even if our families didn't know each other, but we probably shopped at the same grocery stores, played at the same parks.
An age range, were you guys close in age?
Yeah. My husband is about a year older than me.
Wow.
So, you know, we talked, we had so much in common. And for me, it was a lot different than these other relationships and guys that I was dating, because all we could do, he was in Maryland, all we could do was talk. Like that's legit. All we could do was talk and get to know each other. And so we discovered we were both going to be in New York City at the same time. We're like, well, I guess we should meet up, right? Like that just makes sense. So I had already had a ticket and he was going there by bus or something like that. But I started to get really afraid. And I'm like, this guy could be an axe murderer. I have not told anybody that I'm doing this because it was so embarrassing.
Yes.
And I got really afraid. So I started praying a very specific prayer. It was, God, I would feel better about this if I just knew someone who knew him. Like, it wasn't like, God, let him not be an axe murderer, let him be normal. It was like, I just remember it was very specific. I wish I knew someone who knew him, like a mutual friend. So lo and behold, about a week after I started praying this prayer, it was about a week before my trip, I'm at my friend's place where we did ministry. Someone knocks on the door. I open the door and it was a girl with a suitcase. And she came in and she's like, is Matt here? And I said, yes, he's like in the back. He comes out and he goes, Jess, that's Mandy. Mandy, that's Jess. And he looked at me and he goes, let's go. We left. We were going to an event. We get in the taxi and I'm like, who is that? Like, who is that random girl? And he goes, it's my brother's friend from Chicago. Her place fell through and she has nowhere to stay. What do you want me to do? And I said, well, she can't stay here. That just looks scandalous. Like, we do ministry out of this apartment. She can stay with me. My roommate is gone. So I pick this girl up after the event. We get to talking. We're in the car. I said, have you ever met anyone? Because I'm about to meet this guy and I think he might be an axe murderer. And she goes, no, I was supposed to meet this guy in Texas. It didn't work out. It fell through. I'm sure he's fine. And I was like, well, I don't know. I might not go. I said, I might cancel my trip to New York. And she's like, I'm sure it's fine. And she goes, oh, you know what? She said, I did meet this guy. She said he was road tripping across the US last summer and he came through Chicago and we just met as friends. He like wanted to meet Catholics in other parts of the country. I showed him around Chicago. He wasn't an axe murderer. He was fine. And I was like, okay. And I said, wait a minute. The guy that I'm talking to, I know he road tripped across the country last summer. And I said, and I know he went through Chicago. Maybe it was him. And she was like, no. And I said, what was his name? She was like, no, it wasn't him. Do you know how many people? And I said, what was his name? She said his name, and it was my husband.
Wow.
I screamed. She screamed. We took a selfie, emailed it to him. He said when he got it in the morning, he fell out of his chair.
What are the odds?
But I specifically prayed, God, if I wish I knew someone who knew him.
Wow.
And he brought this girl to my friend's door when I was at his apartment. And there you go. And yes, she came to our engagement party. She came to our wedding.
So wild.
So wild. So wild. But I maybe would have canceled my trip.
Yeah. And he literally answered your prayers
And
by
he
sending someone literally to your doorstep.
literally was like,
Wow.
here you go. Here's someone who knows him. You know, and she wasn't even best friends with him, nothing. She knew him, and that was it. And God was like, well, that's what you asked for. So,
yes.
So here you go. Here you go. And so, I always think, ask God for even the little things, even the little things he wants you to ask for. He's listening. Yeah. And, so we dated, we met in New York. We, got engaged 1 year later in New York at the little chapel at the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal Friary in Harlem. And then we got married about 6 months later. And and then I discovered that I had all these fertility issues. So that's another God moment. Like I said, I always wanted to get married and have children, and I discovered I have endometriosis. So I started seeing some NAPRO fertility doctors, and after 2 procedures to remove the endometriosis, they both said, you will never get pregnant. Never. So I'm not typically a person who gets like depressed or super sad. Like I don't dwell on things too long, but I was down in the dumps. I was sad to hear that you will never be a mother. And so I went with my husband and some of my friends with one of our favorite priests to Mexico City. And we prayed and I cried and we went to Our Lady of Guadalupe, and I kind of just sat there like, I was so mad. I just remember being so mad. Like I did everything these doctors told me to do. I changed my diet. I did the hormone injections. I went to acupuncturists and chiropractors and, did all these things. I didn't eat anything delicious. And I just sat there and I said, I give up. I give up. I'm not going to do any of this anymore. I give up. Went home, realized I missed my cycle, took a test.
No.
It was positive. I called my sister. And she said, what's your due date? And I said, I don't know how to figure that out. I've never been pregnant before. She said, give me the date of your first day of your last cycle. And so I gave it to her and she said, your due date is December 12th.
No.
Which is the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and my sister's not a practicing Catholic. So I dropped the phone. I was like, oh my gosh. And tried to explain it to her. And then I was stunned. So my son's date was the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I really believe that what it took was for me to surrender, to just be like, I give up. Because up until that point, I had been trying to control every single thing, everything the doctors told me to do. I did it. I did everything. And then, it was so frustrating not getting the results that I wanted. And so it took that surrender and me saying, I give up. I'm not doing this anymore. You do it. So we, here, I'll tell you another funny little story, because I do have 3 children, but we thought that he would be our only child, and we were fine with it. We were like, hey, the doctor said we wouldn't have any. We have 1. What a blessing.
Yeah.
After I found out I was pregnant, about a month later, I had a trip to Rome with a private audience with Pope Benedict. And I told the Pope, it was on his birthday in April. And I said, I'm pregnant. I know he loved Our Lady of Guadalupe. I said, it's a miracle of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Will you please bless my baby and bless my womb? And he said, see. And so he gave me a blessing. Went home, had our son in December. And then we were pregnant about, I think, 6 months later or something like that. And my daughter's due date was Pope Benedict's birthday.
No way.
The day that I received that blessing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So God has, I think because I'm so stubborn, and I am a bit of a control freak, that he makes it very clear, like, this was me and not you, not you.
Yeah.
You didn't do this. There have been, many moments like that in my life. And it's kind of like he's just kind of shaken me a little bit, like, here I am. Here I am. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And those are beautiful stories. Thank you for sharing. I have something really exciting to share with you. My book, Be Your Brand to Glorify God, is officially available. Why this book? Why this book now? Why do you need it? It was the book that I was searching for when I was building my business and I was beginning my walk and then eventually my run into faith. And it was the guide that I wish I had during that time, something to give me strength, confidence, and clarity to keep showing up, creating content, sharing my experiences at the time. It offers stories and biblical principles to support you as you build your business, your personal brand. You want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And spoiler alert, it's not about you. It's not about me. Even though it's called personal branding, it's something much, much bigger. And that's what I needed. That was the clarity that I was searching for. And it's in this book. So if you're a Christian entrepreneur who's on your faith journey and you're ready to stop hiding or being afraid to share your faith, this book is for you. So grab it now on Amazon or head to beyourbrandnow.com where you'll get the book and a free download called Know Your Roots to help you define your core values, which is the first step in building a clear and powerful personal brand. So pick up your copy today and remember to leave a rating and review to help others like you find it when they need it. It's so powerful when he presents himself in ways that are undeniable. And I used to chalk things up to coincidences, and then I would eventually get to a place where I'm like, I don't believe in coincidences. It's divine intervention, not wanting to give ownership or give any glory to God. And now I call them God incidences. And I steal that from Jeff Cavins, from Mahalo app and EWTN, but stuff. They're God incidences, or just evidence just presented to us and for you to share those testimonies. So help people get across the line to believe, right? Because they may be there too, where I was that guy, hear your story. I'm like, oh, whoa, I'm getting inching a little closer, right? To believing and accepting and knowing that he is present and he has control. And like you said, only until you are ready to be obedient and to surrender. And I just want to share that, like, anyone who's listening, I have friends out there that listen to the show. And if you are struggling with something, just let go of the wheel. Like, it's okay. And we were talking about this before we hit record. It's letting go and understanding, like, just be a passenger. He may be asleep in the boat and it's okay. Like, just, he's got this, Yeah.
And it's really just like, you continue doing your thing. You don't just stop altogether and stay in bed all day long and be like, okay, God, like, do something.
Right.
You still have to, do your part, I guess, whatever that means in your life, but really just trusting that, even if you do your part completely, like, this may not be what God wants for you at this moment. Yeah.
I love it. So you met your husband, you started to raise a family. Where did on the timeline, Jessica Rey, Swimwear, everything within your company begin on that timeline?
So that was the idea started formulating when I was dating my husband, or courting, we call it. And, it was basically, I was spending all day long at the pool at my apartment building with all the other actors and actresses who would sit around all day waiting for auditions wearing a bikini. And I started to feel like objectified. And it wasn't necessarily just as I was sitting there in my bikini. That was a big part of it. But a lot of it was just my career was the acting. You do feel like an object. It can be so dehumanizing. You go into an audition room. First, you go into the building and you sit in a waiting room with everybody who looks exactly like you. And you realize, like, oh, I'm not that great. there are 30 other girls here who look exactly like me.
Mm.
And, okay, whatever. And then you go into the audition room and you do your thing and you leave. And either you book the job or you hear nothing, or you hear, oh, they said you weren't blank enough. So you weren't tall enough. You weren't pretty enough. You weren't short enough, sexy enough. Like, you just weren't something enough. And that starts to really beat down on you, like I wasn't enough. Or say you do book the job and say I booked that job and I said, I don't want to wear a bikini. And the director said, okay, well, we're just going to book the second choice girl because she will wear a bikini and she will wear, like, do whatever we want her to do. So, there was all of that, just starting to feel like an object, starting to feel very dehumanized, but also at the same time sitting at the pool, wearing my bikini, going, this was actually before I met my husband, going to all these parties, wearing very tiny clothes. I had a stylist who would put me in, very revealing outfits. And it was actually one day, my guy friend, looked at me and said, you can't wear that. And I was like, ew. I immediately got really defensive. I said, you're not my dad. That is so gross. Like, my dad wouldn't even say that to me. Like, I can wear whatever I want. But then months went on and I could not get this guy's comment out of my head. And he was a really good friend of mine. And he wasn't saying it to be rude or judgmental. He, I think he was truly trying to help me. And so I just, started researching Modesty, decided I'm going to start with the bikini because I can't find a swimsuit that is more covered, but still makes me feel beautiful. And I made one just for myself. At my apartment building, other people started asking me, like, where did you get that? I really love that. And so I decided, you know what? I'm just going to start a business. I know nothing about fashion. I don't draw, I don't sew, and I can't swim.
Oh my goodness.
So I own a swimwear company. I design and manufacture swimsuits. And, those are 3 fun facts about me. So or swim. So God can really, do anything with anyone.
That is amazing. Just to back up to his comment, because when you said, he's like, you can't wear that, I didn't know if he was thinking it was too revealing or if it was too modest.
Too revealing.
It was too revealing, but you were aware of this over time. You started to realize, like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not me.
It was a process, but that moment was one that really stuck in my head. That just his voice in the back of my head, like, you can't wear that. And, then I started the company. It was really difficult because, like I said, I didn't have the skill set sort of necessary, but I just started knocking on doors. I started asking everyone I knew, telling them about my idea. And if they had a lead, I would, go meet with the person, talk to the person, drive. I drove so far once for this lady to tell me, this was her number one advice. It was so funny. I went to Palm Springs and she was like, she owned a luxury golf company. And her number one advice to me was, don't ever ship like a huge wholesale order to the Congo.
Okay.
And I was like, why would I ship swimsuits to a landlocked war area? What? But apparently she had been like scammed. She shipped like a ton of her luxury golf stuff to the Congo. But really, I took all of these little bits of advice, whether they were relevant or not, and I was willing to talk to anyone. And that's how I built my company, because back then there was no AI, there was no Chat GPT, there was not even really like an internet search engine that was useful or helpful when it came to these types of things. And so, all I could do was word of mouth through friends. And yeah, it was slow going at first. But then I gave a talk, I think it was in 2014, called The Evolution of the Swimsuit. And it went viral on YouTube. It's, I think, like an 8-minute talk about the origin and the history of the bikini, which was designed by a French man named Rayard. He named it the bikini because he wanted it to be explosive. He named it after the atomic bomb testing site. And he couldn't even get a model to wear it at first. He had to hire a stripper. So, you know, with all these things that I researched, I put them in this talk and then basically said, so I created this company and this is what I feel beautiful wearing. And people loved the talk and they hated the talk. So it went viral. And a lot of people loved it because I sold out of everything on my website within 2 days.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, take me back to that. And I love that talk, by the way. We'll put a link to that in the show notes here if you want to see it. It's worth it. Sorry, 8 minutes and so much research and in an entertaining way. You know, the way you sort of disseminate the information to people and the history and the starting out with the itty bitty, teeny weeny, itsy bitsy yellow polka dot. You know, so I loved it. It was really good, and I think you know, people should watch that for sure. And then it's a way to educate yourself in a quick way to move towards this, because I think that what you're doing is really powerful and needed. But when you did that, what was the state of your company at that time? And then how did you scale after that?
So I had just stocked for the spring, I think. And like I said, you know, I had just been, it was kind of like word of mouth. I don't think we were really on, maybe we had a Facebook page. I don't know if Instagram existed back then. If it did, we weren't using it. And so, you know, I did not, first of all, I didn't expect that they would put the talk online. I do public speaking and I get really weird about it. And so when my friend texted me and said, I just saw a talk of yours online, I froze. I was like, what? What did I say? What was it? Was it good? Did I sound like an idiot? And she's like, it's making its round. And I was rounds. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so I logged on and saw it. And I'm like, oh, I can't remember what I said. And I actually have not watched it to this day.
It's so good. You should go watch it.
I hate listening
it's
to myself.
very effective. You know, you made the most use of that time to educate the masses, and it's still obviously performing for you. So yeah, you should check it out.
It was our own, it was our only marketing tool. We weren't doing ads or anything like that. I don't think we had a newsletter. If we did, then maybe it wasn't very good. I can't remember, but I just remember selling out and thinking this is wonderful, but also this is horrible because like I produce and manufacture everything in LA and it's slow. So I'm like, how am I going to get more inventory? Because people just kept emailing. I mean, it was really wonderful. We would get some hate mail once in a while, but really just people saying, when are you going to restock? I will buy anything from you. I just want to support your message. I love what you're about. And so I had to go out and find another factory because my factory was like, no, we don't have the capacity for that. So, you know, again, it was starting from square one again, just knocking on doors, trying to find something that wasn't a sweatshop, which there exist many of them in LA. Something where people spoke English because I didn't speak another language and, you know, that was above board and that could work quickly. So luckily I was able to find something and it took a little while, but, you know, we then learned to collect people's email addresses and do a newsletter and all of that.
Yeah. Wow. See how, again, you know, the Lord works in his ways. You have 3 million views on this video, by the way. And I don't know if this is a duplicate, like some people, you know, copy and re-upload
I'm not
it.
one of those views, I'll tell you.
So it's 3 million views with nearly 25,000 or 2,500 comments on the video.
Oh, wow.
So there's a whole conversation going on without you. I would jump in and check it out, and maybe
I did look at some comments in the beginning, and I got very self-conscious, and I was like, people hate me and people want to kill me. I did get several death threats, people saying that
from the video.
Yeah, that they wouldn't stop until they silenced me, that they were going to find me and silence me. And
these are bikini people. These must be whoever. Oh, is this Victoria's Secret or like?
So people, I'll tell you why people hate that video.
Yeah.
From the comments. It's because they think that I'm saying if you wear a bikini and you get sexually assaulted, you deserved it. Where I didn't say that at all.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think. I mean, I haven't watched it, but I asked many people.
I did not get that at all.
And so a lot of people hear the word modesty, and I did in the very beginning. Like when my friend told me you can't wear that, I was like, what? I was so offended. But they get very defensive about it. And it depends on, whatever their backstory is. It's funny because if you look at the comments, I haven't looked in a long, long time, but everyone's listening to the same 8 minutes or whatever.
Right.
But people drew their own conclusions, and they were all so different. So, I got very self-conscious, and I'm like, I'm never going to watch it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you need somebody to filter it for you and be like, hey, there's this thing. What do you want me to say? But it's definitely cool that you've made such an impact just from this video. It's pretty wild to watch. But from what I'm seeing, it's mostly positive and wonderful. Wow. Okay. So it's interesting because what I really want to get to is, in that video, I recognized at the end, you subtly dropped your faith. I was like, yes. You were like, we are made in the likeness of the Lord. And I was like, yes. And that was 12 years ago. So like, to me, this is new, like infusing faith into your business. How do you do that intentionally? And how do you, was it something that you thought and planned, or just, this is part of me?
I think it's just part of me, and it's just the way that I started doing business from day one, because many companies, they will go and manufacture in a sweatshop in Asia, and I get email like every day still, like, oh, we're a factory in wherever, and we can cut your costs in whatever, more than half, like if you start manufacturing here. And then I start to ask questions like, oh, can I visit? Or can I, come, like just do random drop-ins or whatever. And they won't let you. And just seeing some of these places in LA firsthand, like, I don't want to do business like that. I don't want to take advantage of other people to, sell a swimsuit and to make money. And I see, just what's going on in the world today. I see all these businesses like, oh, we're going to go out of business because of these tariffs and whatever. And then I like to scroll comments just like everyone else. And people are like, well, you should have, done things above board from day one, or you should have manufactured in the US or just move it to the US. And these companies are like, no, if I had to move it to the US, I would have to increase my price by this much to still make this amount of money. And it's like, I don't want to capitalize on slave labor, child labor, and things like that. So that, I think, is a part of infusing my faith and the dignity of the human person in the business without having to say it outright. Just respecting the dignity of all people, because I truly believe that my swimsuits, that is the message, right? Like, modesty is not covering your bodies because they're bad. It's revealing your dignity. So I'm all about dignity, whether that it's the people wearing my swimsuits or the people making them. And I think that's a big part of my business.
Wow. What a great quote. Oh, so good. So good. We're getting towards the tail end of this, and I could continue asking questions and unpacking all these wonderful stories for sure. But I had this segment that has been requested to come back, and it's a lot of fun. I throw out a word, and the segment is called Burn or Bliss. So it's basically like, are you for this, or what's the future hold for this typical thing? For example, I used to throw out, and I won't do it for this one, but like EVs. People are very, yes, that's not good. Burn or bliss. So, and then you have an opportunity to share, one of them out of the 3 or 4 that I give. Which one? You can explain and kind of give more context to it. So we'll have some fun there, and then I want to share how people can get in touch with you and find out more and get a hold of your product here, because I think it's a wonderful thing. So, all right, AI in the entertainment business, burn or bliss?
Burn.
Eco-friendly fashion.
Eco-friendly fashion. Bliss.
Yeah. Okay. And like I said, you can unpack any one of these. Let's see. New social media laws.
I don't know what they are.
Yeah, neither do I. But I think it's protecting. This could be viewed depending on how you see it. I think they either want to protect they want to protect the people, or maybe it's control.
Oh. Bliss, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah. Maybe that's not a good one, because I don't understand it as well. Whatever new sort of laws are coming to play. And then lastly, faith in business.
Bliss.
Yeah. Any of those you want to unpack or share more?
Maybe the eco-friendly fashion. So, like I said, we're about the dignity of the human person. We also, love where we live, and I think we should respect God's green earth. So our fabric is all made in Italy, and it's made from regenerated waste, like rescued fishnets and like old carpet fluff. So I think that stuff like that is important, but more importantly, maybe is maybe this doesn't go with eco-friendly fabric. I don't know if I should be unpacking this.
It's up to you.
Well, I've been learning more recently about fabrics, and just like not just fabrics, but the things in our environment and how they affect our endocrine system and our bodies and health and all of that.
Yeah.
And so I actually tried to make cotton swimsuits and wool swimsuits. And I sourced all of this fabric because it's better for you. But they are not functional at all. You have to have some spandex in there, and cotton actually, if it can't stay wet, it doesn't dry very quickly. And then that can cause infections and all sorts of things. So I am actually starting a line of organic cotton wares. So organic cotton underwear and pajamas is what I'm starting with. And people can hopefully see that stuff on my website soon. Because I just feel like I can't do it with swimwear as far as what kind of fabrics are available to me right now. People aren't wearing swimsuits all day, every day. You wear a swimsuit to swim or to go to the beach or on vacation, and then you're done with it. But underwear, you wear it every day. I hope that people every day. And pajamas, people don't think about it, but you live in your pajamas half of your life. Half of your life is spent in your pajamas. And so I think it's important to wear these healthier fabrics, and just to be cognizant of that aspect, which doesn't really go with eco-friendly fabrics, but I took it there.
Yeah. No, I love it. No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. I see, other categories that you also provide, which is cool. Athleisure. I've never heard that hybrid word. Is that a new one? Athleisure.
Now it's like what people wear to the gym. And we don't really make athleisure. We're just showing people that some of our tankini tops can be worn to the gym because they have like the inner support, and some of our shorts maybe for running and stuff like that. But I don't know. I have this passion right now for organic cotton clothing. And so I can't wait to show everyone what's coming with all of that.
Yeah, my wife will very much appreciate that line of clothing for sure. Yeah. But thank you for that. That's awesome. So this has been wonderful. It went by so quick. And I just want to thank you for sharing your moments here with me, and your stories and your inspiration is truly appreciated. So how can people reach out to you? What's the best place for them to go?
So I'm mostly on Instagram, and my handle is The Real Jessica Rey, Rey. Apparently there's an imposter out there who stole my name, Jessica Rey, and that probably might be her name as well. But The Real Jessica Rey is the best. We actually tried to change the name several times, but because I'm on the old verified profile on Instagram, where I don't know what the new verified, I guess you can buy like a verified badge, but mine was like verified before that. And with those types of accounts, you can't change the name. So my name will forever be The Real Jessica Rey, I guess. People can follow my homeschooling, travels, all the projects that I'm working on there, my swimwear, my organic cotton underwear and pajamas. I'm also producing a TV show. I also mentor women, actually some men as well, whether it be for homeschooling, for starting a business, or just for trying to figure out what to do with your life. I love doing that. And I'm producing a TV show. So there's kind of a lot of things going on, but Instagram is the best way to find it. And if they want to shop the swimsuits, jessicarey.com is where to go.
Yeah. And if they're interested in any of the things that you just shared there, to DM you on Instagram, is that the best place to reach out? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Yeah. We didn't even get into homeschooling. Man, that would be safe for another episode.
Yeah,
I'd love to unpack that.
Another episode of why people hate me.
Hey, but equal amounts or even more, it's the opposite, right? People love. So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is, for some reason, the haters are loudest, right? And people who love you, especially, like if they eat at your restaurant, that's why I will never own a restaurant, just because Google is just they're brutal.
Like if they love it, they won't necessarily
say anything.
But if they hate it, and it's always these like accounts with no profile.
Yes,
I feel like, or like zero posts, and like they have 0 followers, but they follow like 5 million people. And then they come onto my account and start like talking about how my kids are going to be antisocial and like academically behind because I homeschool them. I'm like,
it's 2025.
What are you talking about?
This isn't 1973. It's like, totally different world to a different time. But thank you so much, Jessica. I appreciate you so much. And looking forward to what you're doing next.
Thank you so much, Erik.
If you were inspired or you learned something new today, please give us a like or a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. If you want to learn more about how to build your YouTube channel, your personal brand or podcast, hit us up at info@onairbrands.com. That's info@onairbrands.com so that we can find ways that we can help you. I'm Erik Cabral, and I hope that I added value in your life today.